us momentarily. But at this time, Ms. Kamnitz, I would like to remind you that our system is out for this evening, so we'll do a voice vote, or as otherwise directed if a hand vote is needed or so forth. Ms. Kamnitz, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, how you doing?
Mr. Forbes, if you'd lead us in a moment of silence, please.
Yeah, we still need to remember all of our families that are on vacations and hope they have safe vacations. And I know the principals are preparing for next year, and so is the staff, senior staff. We need to keep them in prayers, and also teachers are beginning to come back and participate in staff development, and we hope that the best programs available to them that will help them be prepared to instruct our students will be that they will participate in. Let's have a moment of silence. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. At this time, Mr. Ron Butler will come forward and lead us in a special recognition.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, superintendent, it's my honor to present the Amy Carroll Sherry Little Award. This award is given annually in recognition of an individual who has shown outstanding support of physical education in Pitt County. This award honors two great educators that left us tragically way too soon. Amy Carroll, who taught at Chicago, and Sherry Little, who taught at Bethel. I did bring, because we're also honored here today, and they told me they have not missed one, Sherry's, two of her children, Matt and Samantha, and they've made every one of the presentations, which started back in 1990, 91. 91 was the year of the tragic accident. And this hangs, it's updated, this does hang in Bethel. I'm going to take it back and hang it on the school, and I'll go pick it up every year and get it redone. But we're very honored to have the family here. The 2012-2013 recipient fits all the qualities and that we want, that we look for in this type of award. Actually, if he wasn't receiving it, he'd probably be up here presenting it. I'm going to go through a few highlights. We're also, I want to honor his principal, that this year's principal, Janora Cannon, is here with us. And is Jennifer here? You know, his principal, Bert's principal last year was Jennifer Poplin. But I want to go, this award's going to go to Bert Jenkins, who is an employee at EB Aycock. And Bert, I wrote this, and I know this might not be some of the highlights you picked out, but I'm going to go through and give some of the highlights. And I'll try to explain some of these acronyms as we go. Bert's department chair. He's a member of the SIT team. He's a first responder. He's a head basketball coach, assistant baseball coach. He coordinates the Helpful Living PLCs, which is the professional learning communities. He's a member of the Race to the Top team. He developed the fitness spreadsheets. He coordinates the BMI testing, the body mass index testing. He's a member of SHAC, which is our Student Health Advisory Committee. He has done a lot with DPI, the NC DPI Summer Institutes. He teaches and speaks at those as an instructor. He does our CPR PowerPoint. I'm gonna shorten it out so somebody can offer Bert the award. A couple big highlights. He was the 2011 NCAA, or the NCAA for Middle School Teacher of the Year. And this past year, Bert was chosen as the May winner of the Subway School Health Champion Award, which came an award for $500 for the school to use. So with that all being said, Mr. Chairman, if we could present Mr. Bert Jenkins, our lead Helpful Living teacher, with the Amy Carroll Sherry Little Award. Mr. Jenkins, it is indeed a pleasure to present this award to you on behalf of a grateful school board.
Thanks, sir.
On behalf of the families of Amy Carroll and Sherry Little, thank you for what you do for the county schools.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chair, like to be noted that I'm present.
I was just letting everyone know that the system is out for this evening. But we would have certainly missed you, Mr. Flores.
Right. Okay. Yeah, present.
As well as Ms. Williams.
Yeah, present.
You know,
think.
these opportunities that we get to recognize our teachers are not often enough. And we're very thankful and very blessed to have quality educators in our system that are going above and beyond for our students, especially in these very difficult times in our state. At this time, under item number 6, routine business, are there any adjustments to the agenda? Mrs. Camden?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Mrs. Mrs. Camden has made a motion. Is there a second? And the second was made by Mrs. Council. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. At this time, item number B, under public expression, we have one individual this evening that comes to us, Mrs. Ann Francisco. Welcome, Ms. Francisco.
I spoke earlier about special needs children, and during the summertime, it was suggested that I talk to a Miss Wright here at the main office about what we can do to help special needs children, and really she informed me I needed to come back to the board and ask for more money, and to also ask for I guess, guidance in where I need to go. And as leaders of the community, I'm looking to you to help me figure out what I need to do to further help these children. I don't think that they're getting the help that they need. Let's see. In my opinion, this is an issue that needs to be taken seriously. We are sweeping these children under the rug with the hopes that they will go away, without finding what the real cause is behind their problems. They do not need to be in a classroom. I'm scared for my child when a child that acts the way they do is in the same building. They have issues of anger that no one in a regular school setting can deal with. Teachers are teachers, not psychologists. I am so disappointed with this system I cannot express it in words. How can we as a community not see that the general population in schools are affected by these children? These children are not getting the help that they need because they are repeating over and over again the same patterns of bad behavior. They are not learning anything. They are not getting the help they need, nor the help they deserve. Our teachers do not have time, nor should they have to worry about whether one of these children are going to flip out today and hurt themselves or another student or staff member. On June 24th in 2013, a young man walked the streets of Greenville because he was so angry, and he shot 4 innocent people. If we had stopped him at the age of 11, 12, 7, or 8, and helped him then, would he have been angry now at 24? So I asked you as members, what can I do to help these children, or to push forward, or to ask for changes to get them the help they need, and at the same time hope that my child is safe at school. I shouldn't have to worry about whether that should be one of my least fears, is whether or not my child is safe at school. So I'm asking y'all to at least consider or talk to me or send me information. I'll be glad to advocate for this, send it to whoever I need to. If I need to go to senators, if I need to go to the, my brain went dead.
Mrs. Francisco, you've reached your time. Could you wrap up your comments?
Yeah, sure will. But anyhow, what I'm basically asking for is guidance from our leaders, which I consider y'all to be, for the school system, for help in getting these children the help that they need, and also for me to feel safe to send my kid to school. Thank you.
Thank you for your words. This time, under item 6, we have item C, which is Spotlight on Teaching and Learning. The item tonight is under Camp Focus. Karen Quick, STEM teachers and STEM students. Welcome to each of you.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Ready you are?
Good. So can you see this presentation that's up here? I don't know.
Yes,
Yes, we can.
it is there.
Where are you guys looking? Oh, right there. Okay. I'm gonna make sure, and then I'm gonna pull up my notes. Let's see. First, thank you for the opportunity to highlight Camp Focus for you all, and I was really excited when Mrs. Olmsted emailed me and asked if I would take this opportunity. I was very excited to do so. I'm Karen Quick. I'm the K-12 Science Resource Facilitator for Pitt County Schools. I'm formerly 14 years at D.H. Conley High School in the science department there. And so having been a high school teacher, Camp Focus was, when I first started discovering what Camp Focus was, it was like Pitt County Schools' best kept secret. I had heard about it from my former K-12 science resource specialist, Rick Wilkerson, but I really didn't have any idea of the impact that 6 teachers have on students in the summertime. And so with who I have with me today, I have 2 student volunteers. I have Kashila and Raven Whitehurst. These are South Central High School students. They're going to have an opportunity to talk to you a little bit today. They have come back as former students of Camp Focus. And then I have one of our 8th grade campers this year. This is Elikim Dodor. So she agreed to come out and talk a little bit about how excited she is to have been a student 2 years now. And so I will move forward. First, I want to just, hold on. Mary White, let me introduce one of our teachers to you. I'll let her come up and explain who she is.
Hi, I'm Mary White. I teach at A.G. Cox Middle School. I've been teaching there for 13 years, 7th grade science. I've had 26 years of teaching experience in science. I am actually was one of the first teachers to be involved in Camp Focus. I've been involved 8 years out of the 10 years we've been having the camp, and have enjoyed it tremendously. Okay, do you want me to go on? As a teacher? Okay. As a teacher, it's a wonderful opportunity to be involved in it. First off, you get to have contact with teachers from other middle schools that you don't normally come in contact with on a day-to-day basis. They bring their ideas to us, or we share our ideas. We all have our own strengths. We work together, we collaborate, and we learn from each other. We also then have formed Mini PLC, which we continue to be able to use throughout the year as a resource in our classroom because we are all teaching middle school science. In addition to that, it is professional development for us because as we prepare the lessons and as we come up with the activities that we're going to do year after year, we have to do research. We have to look up information on activities. We also have incorporated technologies at times, so we've had to learn that technology as well to bring it to the students. So it is an opportunity that is engaging, it's professional development, and most of all, it's just plain fun. I can't tell you, every one of us who have ever done the camp always says it's the best 2 weeks of teaching all year.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Let me go back a little bit and explain to you, and please forgive me if you're already familiar with Camp Focus and the partnership that it represents. But Camp Focus is a partnership between Pitt County Schools, Eastern AHEC, and then DSM. All right, and so Eastern AHEC actually provides teacher contracts for teachers, 6 teachers, middle school teachers that represent different schools in the district. And they are contracted with Eastern AHEC. They are paid through Eastern AHEC for 2 weeks of camp. And we actually go Monday through Thursday with the changed hours of for the summer. Also, Eastern AHEC provides the students a health science fair. And you see here this picture. You could probably tell what it is, or maybe you're wondering. It's a raw chicken. And so students actually during during the health science fair have an opportunity to meet different professionals and see the different tools of the trade. And in this one, did any of you guys try the stapling? Anybody? Yes. She'll get a chance to tell you, but this is where students actually get a chance to use the staples that they use to staple, sutures and stuff back with. So that was kind of cool. DSM, they provide funding for camp materials. Teachers that are Camp Focus teachers also have expenses paid to go to the North Carolina Science Teachers Association. Any safety equipment, every year students get their own set of safety goggles, and also the eighth grade students go to DSM for a field trip. Student applications, I'll show you this particular form. Students fill out applications and submit them. We take up to 60 students, and as far as I know, we've not turned anybody away. Students fill this out and send it in. We have had a couple no-shows in the past. I've had wrong addresses or phone numbers where I couldn't reach students to let them know that they have been selected, which, like I said, they've all been selected. I don't think that we've turned anybody away yet. But anyway, so that is the application. Camp details, again, they go for 2 weeks. It's usually the first 2 weeks at school is out completely, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3 each day. And like Mary kind of described, this is an opportunity for professional development for these teachers as well. And I will, let the students have an opportunity. If Ella Kim, if you want to come up and tell a little bit about some of the activities that you've enjoyed doing.
One of the activities I enjoyed doing was when we went to DSM because it opened my eyes to new career opportunities that I could go out to. And also, I enjoyed when we made a mixture of water and soap and we made foam towers out of it. And also, I learned new things that could help me during the school year. Like we learned about water quality and such, which helps me with my science Olympiad. And I would also like to come back next year because I would like to help other students have the same opportunities that I did, and I want to help other people achieve their goals.
As I mentioned, Elicum had actually done 2 years as a camper, and then after that, they can apply if interested to be a volunteer as well. But on that note, I would like my volunteers to come up and talk a little bit about what they do for the camp.
As a volunteer, we help the campers each day with signing them in and doing small group activities. I was a camper in 8th grade, and I enjoyed what we did there every day, which wanted me to be a volunteer. We do different things such as chromatography. They really like the trip to DSM, and most of the kids are really excited about science. They like coming to the camp, and the teachers are enthusiastic, and they want the kids to learn during the 2 weeks of DSM. Of Camp Focus.
And then I was there my 7th and 8th grade year, and the students seemed to like the bottle rockets and going to the River Park North for water samples and figuring out what types of things they could find in the water. We also did catapults and pasta bridges, a lot of different activities. I think they all like it too, and the volunteers that they have to work with to make it enjoyable to them.
So the students and teachers are actually, they're engaged in a variety of activities, as you can see in some of these pictures here. It's important to us that students get a variety of experiences with learning in camp, that they have opportunities to understand that investigations in science involve multiple means of information gathering. Technology, we do have access to technology. The camp is kind of rotated around the district. I know it used to be at Welcome, and then we moved to CMEPS, and they were getting painted this year. So they were kind enough to let us have camp at EBA Cock this year. So who knows? Maybe we'll just start having a lottery and just move around the school district and have camp in different places. But the students are actually engaged. One of the key professional development opportunities is for our science teachers to really have an opportunity to learn about inquiry, the investigative process. And you may or may not be familiar, but the Next Generation Science Standards have been released. Our new science essential standards are very much in line, vertically, kindergarten through 12th grade, to really build on knowledge of students' concepts in science. One of the new components of the Next Generation is the science and engineering practices that has not really been outlined as well in our K-12 science essential standards, but DPI is in the process of rolling out some of the training. I had the opportunity to take part in some training this summer on engaging students in argumentative writing and that kind of thing. And so the science and engineering practices is very exciting. It's going to offer a way for K-5 teachers to integrate science more so in their content. And then it's going to also provide, 612 teachers with different means of really engaging their students in the practice of science and not just, what some of us, and it pains me to hear people say, science is just memorizing a bunch of facts. And, that hurts me in my soul. So anyway, it's a great opportunity. The science teachers have taken plenty of time. They take 2 days where they come together and plan some of the different activities that they've done. Here's a list of some of the things that they've taken part in. Did you want to say anything? Sorry, I'll move around wherever you need.
That's okay. The students, it's absolutely wonderful to watch these students when they come in. They get very excited, and very often, we start camp at 9 a.m. Very often, they're there by 8:30 already getting to work on whatever it is we've started them on, because they want to learn. And the process, the science process, the inquiry process, these students are doing without even being asked to do. So it's wonderful as a science teacher to see. In addition to that, the inquiry requires these students to use the higher order thinking skills. They have to create, they have to evaluate, they have to apply and analyze what they're doing as they're working along. For example, one of the activities we did, I think Raven mentioned it before, was we did pasta bridges. We give them a very short 10-minute lesson on trestle bridges, and show them a couple of little slides demonstrating them, and then we give them a challenge to do. We tell them the size of the bridge they have to build. We tell them the purpose of the bridge is to hold as much mass as it can without collapsing. And then the students get to work, and they talk to each other. They ask, well, why are you doing that? And why are you doing that? And I think I might need to try that. My bridge broke. I've got to start again. I mean, it's just on, and they'll spend forever doing it if you don't give them a deadline. We have to give them deadlines. And then we have the competition, and they're out there cheering. We tie a bucket to the bridges, and we start putting weights in it. Of course, the kids only want to put in 10 grams at a time, and I said, no, you've got to start bigger than that. And we do, and they cheer each other, and you would think maybe they'd be upset when the bridge breaks, but they're not. They're ready to go on. It's a wonderful learning experience, and they are engaged, and that's the way the 2 weeks are for these kids.
And we'll try not to keep you much longer, but I did want to share one story, and I'll try not to get too choked up about it. But there was, in the beginning of camp, I stepped in a few times. We also had curriculum review week going on. But I checked in on camp, and some of the teachers pulled me aside, and they said, oh, we need you to talk to this one kid. He's being a little bit of a problem, and the teacher evaluation, they kind of gave us a heads up. He's not really wanting to take part in activities. He's kind of poking fun at some of his peers. And so I pulled him aside, talked to him a few times, and, a couple days go by, and I asked the teacher how he was doing, and she said, you know what? The kids were, I don't know, he was in 7th grade, so they may have been doing their pasta bridges, and he looked a little frustrated. He was getting upset and just kind of checking out. And she pulled him aside, and she took some time one-on-one to kind of show the student, what he needed to do. And it was like there was this transformation in this child. Maybe it could be a result of lots of different things, and I was hoping he would come tonight. But maybe it was a combination of not having graded work, not being among peers who all were doing the same thing, and it was kind of cool to do that. But it was really an exciting time, and he really excelled that next week. And when we did our Camp Focus finale, I just pulled him aside, gave him a hug, and I said, you know what? I hope you take this new passion you have for learning and take it into your next school year. I even called the principal. He's a Stokes school student, and I called her, and I said, you know what? Keep an eye out for this kid and encourage him. So among the students who love it regardless, there's also students who, parents see as an opportunity, maybe I can find some other way to reach my child. And so these teachers are responsible for that, and I just applaud them for the extra work and the effort that they do. But was there anything else? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more thing. We work very hard at picking and choosing our activities so that they do support, right now, the essential standards for the grade that the student is going into. So the students who are at 7th grade camp are doing activities that relate to the standards they're going to be taught in the 7th grade, and the same with the 8th graders. This is very important, knowing at this point that the high school students are all going to need to be able to take the biology exam at the end of the year. It's important that we encourage these children and give them the opportunities for the extra science to build the basis. So that is a tremendous advantage for a lot of these children as well. And having had Ella Kim last year, I can tell you that she would say, she would say, "Oh, I remember doing this in camp." So.
And here is our star raven in this picture here. But we've talked about it a little bit. But one last thing, you know, these teachers and part of being, I guess, a veteran teacher is this process of constantly reevaluating what you're doing. And that's something that kind of comes natural to teachers who have been in it a while, and that teachers who are striving to do the best they can for their students. We look for continuous improvement in our camp, and teachers are asked to reflect on lesson design, student learning, and camp planning. As a result of this reflection, we are considering, or it's in the works, but we'd like to open the camp up to rising ninth grade students as well. Right now we have about 3 teachers for about half the students, about 30 students, and we really think that we could manage to do a lot of the activities with the help of the volunteers to maybe split those teachers up and to have rising ninth grade students as well. And so that's something that we're in the works. You know, we've got to talk a little bit more about it. But also I've included some we do feedback at the end of camp, parent and students, and you'll see over here on the right. Students love the hands-on experience. You know, we take the positive with the negative. We asked parents, one person had responded to ask parents to interact more with the camp. You know, why not? You know, why not have kids go home and ask their parents questions? Camp is fun. My child's gained hands-on experience. I thought this was funny. I put it in red so it would jump out at you, but one of the students didn't want to do any more notebooking because they felt like it was too much like school. But, you know, the writing is also an important process, and so we engage our students in writing and reflecting about what they do each day. But did anybody else want to say anything? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Under item 7, under consent items, there are 2. Item A is consideration of minutes from the regular board meeting held on June 28th, 2013, and open session meeting held July 15th of 2013, and also item B, consideration of the personnel report for August of 13.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peden has made a motion. It's been seconded by Mr. Forbes. Is any further discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Under new business, Operations Committee report, Mr. Forbes and Mr. Bowyer.
Mr. Boyd, if you come up, we discussed or reviewed about 12 items. So he's going to give a little short synopsis about each.
Thank you, will do. As Mr. Forbes said, we met on June 24th. Those in attendance were Mr. Forbes, Ms. Williams, Mr. Kenny, Ms. Waters, Ms. Owens, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Kamnitz. The first item on the agenda was a review of the safety assessments and the need to keep the safety assessment and the priorities of the safety task force moving forward. One of the recommendations had been an independent assessment of each of our campuses and schools. After discussion, it was decided to have a joint finance and operations meeting in August and allow the vendor to present to both committees. The next item on there was the transportation facility and the one-time money that has been set aside to upgrade that facility, and also the current offer that stands for that property. And again, after discussion, a motion was made by Ms. Williams and was seconded by Ms. Waters to start the upset bid process of our current bus garage and see if any other offers would be flushed out or considered at that time. The fifth item on the agenda was the review of the GPS time and attendance system that had been brought before the committee in the past.
the vendors have changed their strategy as opposed to the one-time upfront capital. GPS is on most buses across the state in their systems, but to charge a monthly charge that's basically covered through the savings that is realized through the efficiencies and operations. This same system would go hand in hand with our safety and security procedures within the school. It would reduce considerable work on our assistant principals in the district. It would reduce idling time, which would mean money, and would go right in line with what we have considered. Ms. Waters made a motion, and it was seconded by Ms. Williams to move forward in selecting a company to provide this service for our district. And finance staff, as well as transportation staff, has gone out, met with vendors, and the recommendation would be to move forward with Synovia Solutions for a 60-month lease at $10,297 per month for 290 GPS kits that would be paid for through the efficiency of that system. That's one that we will need a motion for.
Motion,
I'm sorry, Ms. Williams?
motion to have them come and do the demonstration for us in
At
August.
this point,
just-
they've reviewed the vendors and done on-site visits, so they're looking for approval of the actual lease and terms that would be presented to the board.
Basically,
that
what you're
contract.
saying is the money that we will save as a result of those GPSs would pay for themselves.
More than itself, yes,
More
sir.
than, more than,
Exactly. What the systems will do is cut down on idling time, and we are projecting to save $150,000 more than it would cost to do the monthly maintenance.
Yes.
And the way we're looking at it is just a break even on that. More importantly is the student safety that
Yes.
we would be gained from the ability to track where our students are at any given time on those buses, as well as the way I look at it from the efficiency of the finance and the operation of the school system is to put assistant principals back in the classroom and in the hallways, actually learn how to be leaders and not clerical assistants and having to do the payroll function, the time and attendance function of the buses. We already have a time and attendance system with our bus drivers. They're like little boxes that you clock in and out of at the polls. This would replace that, cut down on idling time, and significantly impact our student safety.
Yes, so I motion to approve it.
Ms. Williams, could you state your motion again, please, so everyone can hear that?
I motion to approve the lease for
GPS.
the GPS systems on all our buses throughout Pitt County Schools. Second.
It's been moved and it's been seconded by Mrs. Council. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda was an update on the Chicago sewer system. As the board has been made aware, the general contractor on that project has gone bankrupt. A pre-bid meeting was held on site last week. That project will be rebid out. It will be covered by the bond that was issued to cover the company that has gone bankrupt. It's turned over to the surety company. But again, we don't know at this point. The pre-bid meeting had good attendance at Chicago School last week, and that is a county project and will be completed hopefully in the near future. The next item was, again, an update on the Chicago Phase 2 and 3, the amount of work in addition to that sewer that's gone on that site, and the fact that we've also employed and Mr. Height has designed Phase 2 and 3, and at some point we'll have to be compensated for that. The eighth item on the agenda was a review of the CMF cell tower lease.
Mr. Bowyer, before you go any further on that, the Chicago project, where are we on the timeline on that? Are we going to be off in terms of that being completed because of this bankruptcy by the contractor, or where do we anticipate that'll be?
No, that was scheduled to be finished April 22nd, so you are quite a ways behind, but again, with the contractor going bankrupt. But there's no other phase right now that construction is dependent upon. So the county is very much aware that they'd like to go live with that sewer system as soon as it's complete. But there is not a Phase 2 and 3 under construction at this point.
So we're moving as quickly as we can on that.
Yeah, well, and since it hasn't been rebid out, we do not have a new completion date, and they have to evaluate at what point and what time they actually would deem that project to be completed.
Any of the members in those districts or otherwise hearing from parents or staff at those schools about concerns?
Well, I just continue hearing concerns about when the sewer project is gonna be complete, which leads me to, I just want to double check, make sure that, that project's gonna have to be rebid with the part that's still remaining to be complete.
Correct.
And Mr. Chair asked, for an approximate, timeline on that. Do you have any kind of guess as to what the procedure would be and the timelines to follow?
Again, that's being overseen by the county, but they have revised the date for bids to go out as August 16th. They usually give them a month to respond or a couple of weeks to respond to the bids. But given that someone new will have to come in and evaluate almost 6.5 mile of sewer pipe that's already, some been put in the ground, some of the pump station work, you're probably looking at another 6 months out for completion.
And Aaron, one thing I'm hearing is the way that, from a few people, is the way their yards, their driveways were left. And I just told them that company went bankrupt, and we're in the process of rebidding to
Yeah,
get.
we authorized the picking up of the remaining pipe, as you all know, that
Because they
serve that
stopped right
area.
in, they stopped and left it just like it is, left their equipment right in place.
Yeah, that pipe's been moved, it's being stored at Chicod, it's part of the inventory process for whoever's rebidding the job. But again, pipe sitting out there that's gone through this heat and extreme weather conditions, all that has to be evaluated as we move forward.
Did Pitt County school staff pick that pipe up and any of the debris that as much as they could?
Yeah, Pitt County Schools assisted Pitt County Maintenance Department in picking that pipe up and delivering it to Chicago.
We appreciate both the county and your group picking that up, because I know that's appreciated by the people in that area.
Yeah.
As was, the next item was a review of the CMF cell tower lease. Upon reviewing that lease, a motion was made that we decline that offer. That was made by Mr. Kenny and seconded by Ms. Waters. That motion carried unanimously. The next item was an update on South Greenville Recreation Center and the meetings that have gone on between Greenville City employees, Parks and Rec employees, their desire and their #1 Parks and Rec project to redo South Greenville Gym and hopefully have a partnership with the school system, since that is the space that provides physical education space for South Greenville. And a motion was made and carried unanimously that the board look at a resolution in support of that project in the future with the city. The 10th item was an update on ECU parking, the change in staffing, but the need to continue that process for that $150,000 revenue venture that brings resources to the community, and carrying that forward for this season. The 11th item was a review of Third Street and the need to consider the textbook warehouse and the surplus property that is under a 12-month lease with the Rizzutis who bought Third Street with a 12-month option to continue that lease. And there are discussions going on currently for other alternative sites, so on and so forth, but just making the committee aware. And then the 12th and last item, I don't want to steal the bang for the schools, but we had 3 schools receive Energy Star rating, which is outstanding with the resources that have been dedicated, maintained internally by facility services. At a future date, they'd like to come forward and present those 3 schools with their Energy Star rating, which means how well they're doing managing energy within their school facility at the most economical way possible. So it was a very lengthy but good meeting. A number of items were considered and passed at that meeting.
Mr. Bowyer, one of the concerns that I had, and I'm just articulating this concern and putting it out there for the board to hear, one of the things that I heard from some folks in the community is their specific concern about Elmhurst School not having a gym proper for those, actually no facility in existence for a gym for that school. And maybe just having a thought now is in terms of the amount of revenue that site generates, maybe we could put some thought behind that process. I know that I've heard from quite a few folks in that area that have that as a concern, that they don't have a proper facility in terms of inclement weather and so on and so forth, using the cafeteria and moving tables and things, and that to me would seem to be something that we would need to look at as a board, perhaps in the future for that school. Ms. Little?
Well, in, question about the CMF cell tower lease, didn't we generate revenue from that and could use it for, wasn't it poured back into the school to benefit resources in the school? This
Went
is
to
an
the-
additional tower
This is an
that-
addition.
This is an additional tower. The
We're
current
putting
tower that's on site built the restroom,
Right.
bathroom facility, concession stand that's utilized for the tailgating and also for school events. And yes, that brings a monthly revenue stream to the district as well. This current lease, the financial terms were not agreeable amongst the committee. The group's already asked to come back at a future date, revisit those options to the school district, and consider those resources. But this is a second tower that would go in the wooded area between the recreation center on Elm Street and the school, but the
Gotcha.
financial terms.
Okay,
And a lot of them now, with the towers, they want to sell, they want to buy the property. and
Sure.
Put it up there and just sell, or the Pitt County Schools buy it without any of the lease.
gotcha. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I do.
Ms. Williams?
I would like to go back, Aaron, to the resolution on South Greenville. Do we have to make a decision on that tonight? Or do that resolution tonight to make sure that we're all?
You know, at some point in time, there will be a resolution done that's done by the city. The board would co-sign with the
Okay.
city in
All right.
support of that project.
Okay.
I would imagine that would be very similar to the one we did for Walter Jones Center that the city had done before, and we piggybacked on that.
All right, okay. Thank you.
Ms. Waters?
Wasn't clear to me when Mr. Richard asked about the Chicod project. At this point, we're not ready to continue into the construction phase at Chicod. Aren't we lacking the funds to do building in
He was-
spite of the sewer?
I think his question was in reference to the sewer.
To the sewer, yes.
And that
Well, yeah.
being, having to be rebid because of the
Right.
contract going back.
Well,
Yes,
my-
but phase 2 and 3 right now are not under construction or
Right.
funds available at this point, but it's remains the number one priority.
Okay, is there anything in the foreseeable future? Because one thing you did mention at that meeting was that when that construction takes place, you felt that we would have to move students out of Chicod in order to do that construction. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion, and in working with the architect, that redo Chicod at any number of, when you demolish that front part, keep that traffic flow going. Those of you that live in that area know that's a daily challenge, but the community's been talked to about that, and they see that as a temporary inconvenience. Ultimately, they'd like to see a renovated Chicod school that provides the modern features of a number of our
But
campuses.
right now, we don't even see that in the construction in the foreseeable future.
Nothing's under,
It's a lack of funds.
correct.
Lack of funds, but eventually you're gonna get to the point where part of it's gonna be condemned.
Correct.
And you're gonna be forced to,
Funds well.
yeah.
Ms. Chemnitz?
Aaron, is this your last meeting?
It's my last meeting, yes, ma'am.
I just have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your commitment and your service to this district, and I will miss you.
20-something years.
Yeah, we appreciate what you've done, contributed. I worked with you a long time, even as an evaluator. So, appreciate what you've done.
And
I
I
think-
sincerely do as well, Aaron. I think you're most deserving.
Thank you.
Well, and I think, this board, over the many years that you've served the system with distinction, I think, we'd be remiss if we didn't say just great job all the way around. Your knowledge in terms of projects, work with transportation, your considerable knowledge in terms of school finance is a big gain for Durham Public. So, thank you. Hats off to
Wonderful
you.
ride for 22 years, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. I'd like to say also, I've enjoyed working with you. You were never unapproachable. I always had the students and the district always first, and I just like to let you know how much I have appreciated, your help, throughout my time on the board. I really do. Thank you.
Financial update from our superintendent and finance officer, Mr. Cowan.
Good evening. A couple of weeks ago, the legislature, the General Assembly approved the budget and recommended for approval to the governor, which was signed into law. And that budget had a dramatic impact on instruction within the state of North Carolina. And it was kind of the worst case scenario, as I have been explaining to the different news outlets around the county. The governor's budget and the House budget were so well aligned in the couple of stages of the process, and the Senate budget was kind of the outlier. And as the final budget came through committee, and I was able to look at it and kind of bear down into the details, I'm like, this is the Senate's version of the budget. And there are many things that are striking within that budget. Many of them have impact on human resources, with concerns to teacher tenure as well as master's pay. But when I look specifically at the budget, there's about 3 items that really kind of glare out to me. First of all, there was, in the first year of this continuing budget, we were supposed to receive about $1.1 million worth of additional textbook money. And this is dollars needed to replace, for example, a math textbook adoption where we're using books over 10 years old. That money did not get included, was cut out of the final version of the budget. So here we are again for about the 6th year in a row not receiving adequate funding to replace textbooks. And again, I can't stress enough, there's already an issue where we hear from parents all the time of their student not coming home with a textbook. Even the ones that are being used within the classroom are up to 10 years old. Second area was kind of piggybacking on top of the textbook issue was instructional supplies. The first year of the continuation budget, we were to receive about $700,000 in instructional allotments to our schools that we will not receive, was cut out of the final version of the budget. These are dollars that are used within the classroom to supply not only with technology, but the various types of day-to-day supplies just needed to follow out the curriculum that all teachers are dedicated to serve on a daily basis. And you hear all the time about teachers having to take dollars out of their own pocket to fund the needs of the classroom. And again, that's $700,000. That $700,000 is a representation of why teachers have to go and dig into their own finances in order just to meet the standard needs within the classroom. This is not going above and beyond. This is just to meet the standard. And then third, in an environment where the top priority of this county, or if it's not the top, it ranks right up there at the top, is to ensure that all students are reading at grade level by the end of 2nd grade. And Pitt County Schools was one of the first school systems in this state to adopt the Read 3D program system-wide, which is an instructional program that allows us to assess our kindergartners, our 1st graders, and our 2nd graders to determine what type of instructional strategy needs to be appropriated to those students to ensure that we're doing everything we can on a daily basis within the classroom to individualize instruction, to ensure that by the end of the school year we have achieved adequate growth of our students and that all students are reading on grade level as they progress through their instructional years. And then within this budget was $110 million worth of reoccurring reductions to teacher assistants. Another $10 million on top of that were considered to be non-recurring, which I won't even get into the difference between recurring and non-recurring, but still $120 million worth of reductions to teacher assistants. And Pitt County Schools ourselves are looking at a reduction of about 15 to 20 positions over this next year. And while we planned ahead to do everything we could to ensure that it did not touch an individual by holding back vacancies and retirements and so on, where we're able to say at this point in time it has not reached the individual person in their livelihood, that is still a dramatic reduction in the staffing and the individuals that we are counting on to provide that type of instruction and remediation to our students in the early grade levels, which is just a continuing sign of reductions to our teacher assistant staff, the ones that we are using to the nth degree to provide, again, that level of remediation and pull out instruction so that the teacher can individualize instruction. So this was a very strong message that was sent through this budget. At this point, we are looking like we do have a balanced budget. It's just very important that we, over the first month and two of this school year, that our students, our population shows up, because every dollar that's appropriated to us from the state of North Carolina is based off of the projected number of students here at Pitt County. So we'll be paying close attention to that. It's something that I stressed very strongly to our school administrators last week at our administrative conference, that it's very important that in the first couple of months that we get our student counts correct. We pay close attention to that because that does impact our level of funding. So where we are comfortable right now, if we see dramatic reductions in our student population from that which projected, we could find ourselves in a situation where we have to send money back to the state. But that's kind of a norm in any given year, that our student population has to live up to that which is projected. But it was very disappointing, board, that the final version given of the committee report that was approved in the budget, considering the different scenarios that had been placed out there. But it's kind of, we've talked about as a leadership team, no matter what level of funding we receive from the state and kind of deficit that we have, we will serve every single student on day one that walks through those doors, because no matter what the budget is, our students are going to come to school. And it's our dedication to our parents and to our community to make sure that we are controlling everything that we can control. And that is making sure that during the summer months that we are preparing our staff for the beginning of a successful school year.
What
Mr.
did you
Cowan,
say?
one of the things that I read today in this interpretation of the budget from Financial and Business Services from DPI, word for word in the whole entire document, and some of the highlights that were most glaring to me in the reductions in LEA funded teaching positions across North Carolina. There were 5,200 classroom teachers that were cut. In instructional support, there were 270 positions that were cut. Classroom teacher ratios under the new system of no cap. Kindergarten classroom sizes under last year's budget were 1 to 18. In this year's budget, it's 1 to 19. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of a jump. It doesn't sound like the sky is falling down, but those are averages. And many of our classrooms across this state are much larger than that. I remember just the year before last, when my son was in kindergarten, he had a class of 26 in kindergarten. In grades 1 through 3, same jump, 1 student. Grades 4 through 6, middle school, some of the most difficult and formative years for our students. Some of the largest jumps, 2 students. 7 through 8, again, 2 students. Grade 9, 2 students. Grades 10 through 12, 3 students. To the average class size of being 1 to 29. And I heard of a teacher today that has moved from my building to Wake County, and he has a starting freshman English class of 42 in Wake County. Now, it really pains me to hear the governor of our state stand before the State Chamber of Commerce and say that he's done more for public education than any other recent governor. And I would say to the people that are watching, yes, he has, in a very short period of time, destroyed and destructed our state system of public education, where North Carolina used to be one of the states that everyone looked to and said, great job. Now, another item on here to me that was most glaring, I'm upset about this, so give me just a minute. In instructional materials, the amount cut in the 13-14 appropriation goes from 89 million now to 43 million. That was already a reduction in the previous year. Textbooks have been cut from $100 million down to an appropriation of $23 million. So when I hear from parents that say to me, I'm concerned, I never see a book for my child comes home and doesn't have materials to support the learning that took place at home, I'm forwarding them our state legislature's contact numbers because they look to the board and say, but you're supposed to provide. We don't have. We're very blessed to live in a county where our county commissioners understand and try to support us with the local monies that we can scrape together. But we don't have the resources locally, nor does any other county, particularly in the east, have the funds to supplant what the state is cutting critically from our classrooms. And one of the last glaring items I will leave to you is bus replacement. And Mr. Wethington and I were talking about this earlier. A bus is eligible for replacement not after it is greater than 15 years old or now replacement mileage with 300,000 miles on a school bus. And I hear the sheriff, outstanding individual in this county, talk about the need to replace law enforcement vehicles when they get or approach 200,000, and yet we have some of the most precious commodity, our little ones, riding on these buses, and we're going to put them on rural roads where a bus is going to be sitting along the side of the road with its hood raised. I do hope that our legislators will stop and at least call somebody for help for these buses as they're sitting broken down. 300,000 miles, and then the LEA, get this, the last point, shall receive $2,000 for each bus that is eligible for replacement, but they keep operating. $2,000, that won't put a set of tires on that school bus. What an embarrassment to our school systems across this state. And our governor is walking across the street to hand cookies to women that are protesting. I assume he'll be dropping off crates of apples to our teachers. What an embarrassment.
Well said.
Mr. Forbes.
What did you say, Michael, regarding that Reading 3D program? What impact? You brought that.
Well, the Reading 3D program is an assessment program.
I know, but
intended-
what, the budget, what impact
Well,
did the budget have?
the teacher assistants, because those are the ones, the individuals that we count on to be able to provide assessments and provide individual remediation services.
Ms. Waters?
They did away with the master's level pay. Are the teachers who are currently being paid on master's level, are they going to be held harmless?
You want to speak to that?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Y'all are just all into my presentation for today. What we have heard, and of course, everything's kind of up in the air. I did hear that the governor had a speech on Thursday and said things that were contradictory to this particular process, and I actually have that of the phase out here to talk about today, that our master's programs, and basically what it says in what we had in Senate Bill 402 that was ratified, is that unless they are paid on that salary schedule or receive that salary supplement prior to the 2014-15 school year, they will not be paid. So the ones that are
15, not 13, 14.
not 13, 14, but they have to be paid on that salary schedule. So what we know from at this point, if they graduate in December of 13 and they're paid in the spring semester of our calendar year, school calendar year, they would be able to be paid. But if they graduate June or May, they will not receive the supplement for the master's doctorate or any other supplements at this point.
And that's the part that's so critical, is that they cut it off just prior to this group's semester of graduation.
That is correct.
I'm sorry.
But they did keep National Board Certification grade.
To my knowledge, they have at this point.
That's the only one.
That's the only one.
That'll be the next thing to go.
Yeah, they didn't quite kill everything this year.
Just the death blow.
And
Yeah.
as a closing comment to the budget, I would like to, again, I'd like to say thank you to county commissioners. And matter of fact, in the next, over the next a month or so, with Dr. Linker coming on board, it is my goal for the Pitt County Board of Education, as well as the Board of County Commissioners, to put together a joint resolution between both boards to send to Raleigh, because really what you're starting to see here is the pushing down of state obligations away from the state legislature down to the local level. And if the county commissioners do not support us strongly in this position, then what you could find is that obligation to fund the buses, the workers' compensation, the instructional supplies, the textbooks, all get pushed down to the local level to make like they're saving on the state side, but just become a burden on the property tax on the county commissioner side. So I think this is a great opportunity for both boards to stand united and to ask the state to live up to their legislated obligation.
Ms. Jackson, for your Human Resources report, along
Okay.
with Mrs. Williams.
Well, thank you. You have touched on some of the things that we've talked about. Of course, my nighttime reading is Senate Bill 402, trying to decipher all of the things that are within it. And I understand Mr. Richard's sentiment about what this is going to bring forth for our district. I had the pleasure this morning to train 120 of our newest teachers to Pitt County Schools. I went from my heels to my tennis shoes because I've been standing all day, but it's a great group of people coming in. And my theme to them was in spite of. I said, regardless of what you're hearing in the media, what people are telling you, I appreciate that you're here for the children, because there's nothing that's really going to attract them and let them continue to stay. So we did have our beginning teacher orientation to start today. It is going on the rest of the week, so you're welcome to come to Lake Forest Elementary School. Thanks to Ms. Lavette Ford and her staff. The school is ready, clean, and presented well today for our group. They'll be there until Thursday, and Friday they'll be moving to the Tech Fest at South Central. So they're eager, they're scared, they're worried about their future, and we of course know that. So the Human Resources Committee will be busy in the next couple of months because there's a lot of policy change that's going to occur. There are a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made because they've struck out career status in every part of 115C 325, which means we have to go back and change our policies. There'll be recommendations coming down. I've already had a conversation with Dr. Linker about how teacher contracts will be presented. Recommendations through him, looking at the percentages of 25% based on teacher effectiveness. So we will have a lot of work to do in the future regarding that. We are being bombarded with calls about master's pay because we have a lot of teachers that have taken on that charge to advance themselves, and they're midstream, and a lot of them are not going to finish to fit into this policy. I have heard talk about an extension to June 30th, but that may not help some of them with that extension if they're not going to pay them, if they haven't been paid on that scale. And if anybody around this table knows, it does not take licensure a small amount of time to get a license process. It could be 6 weeks. And that will not allow those people to be paid on the scale. So it is very unfortunate. We have a lot of people that are very deflated right now. We're doing our best to try to answer their questions, but we're trying to decipher what's there. And they have lobbying going on. They're asking people to write letters. There's a lot of things going on because we're going to lose a lot of people that have taken their time, their dedication, their lack of family sleep, and other things to put themselves to advance forward, and now they feel like they're being slighted. There are also a lot of local policies that are going to have to be changed, and a lot of money that's going to have to come with this policy because there are things that are tied to teacher contracts for those that have teacher effectiveness for a 4-year contract. There are lots of things embedded in Senate Bill 402 that we are constantly reviewing to try to bring forth to you the latest information. So I will try to stay as updated as possible and keep you informed and prepare the Human Resources Committee for a pretty interesting start of school. Are there any questions at this point? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is item D, under items for action, recommendations for appointment of the Pitt Community College Board of Trustees, our 2 appointments that statutorily Pitt County Schools is able to make. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Earlier, well, the latter part of July, the Human Resources Hearing Committee got together and made and interviewed applicants that were initially our top 5 applicants, which really went down to 3. So 4. And we had a very enthusiastic group of individuals, very professional people. And we were just thrilled with the outcome of each interview for each individual. So our recommendation for the appointment to the Pitt Community College Board of Trustees was Dr. Patty Saunders Smith, and Mr. Don Mills. That was the recommendation of the board. And I submit that. Anyone for discussion? Or I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Dr. Patty Saunders Smith and Mr. Don Mills.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Williams and seconded by Mrs. Chemnitz. Is there any further discussion on that? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under item 9, comments by interim superintendent, Mr. Cow.
Thank you. Although our students are not in school right now, there's a lot going on in Pitt County schools. And I'd like to say thank you to all of our instructional staff, administrators that are working hard to gain professional development and training that will help prepare them for another successful school year. For example, last week we had the leadership conference, the 2 days of activities, learning about updates on curriculum and student information system that was provided by our Educational Programs and Services Department as well as our Human Resources Department. Our school leadership had an opportunity to meet Dr. Ethan Link, our new superintendent. He came and spent some time with our administrators and had the opportunity to discuss individualized goals and expectations with our schools for the next school year. So that was a very glad welcome to see him come on board. This week, as Delilah has stated, we're holding beginning teacher orientation, which is a 4-day event this week, which is a collaboration between East Carolina University and Pitt County Schools as part of the TQP program. Our program also has various speakers coming on board to provide instruction to our staff. Even the state Teacher of the Year was here in town to address the group. So we'd like to see that. At the end of the week, we have Tech Fest. It's a great opportunity for our staff to learn new and unique ways to integrate instruction and technology into instruction. So that will be this Friday. And the Curriculum Summer Institute, where next week we have over 4,000 sessions lined up for hundreds of instructional staff. A lot of positive staff development that will be held throughout Pitt County Schools for, like I said, hundreds of teachers next week. So again, I'd like to say thank you to all of our instructors and instructional staff, administrators that are taking this opportunity to receive professional development and training that will help guide them through the next school year. I'd also like to say congratulations to Bert Jenkins on his award tonight. Bert was actually a student teacher of mine at Beargrass High School when I was in 7th grade. And
Long time ago.
That's right. And he actually attended the same church that my wife did, so I grew up with my family. And it's been nice to see him over the years. He is a great, great guy and a great instruction, a great asset to Pitt County Schools. We are very lucky to have him. I think the world of Bert. So congratulations to him.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Under my comments for this evening, a couple of board members, quite a few actually over time, have been contacting me about making sure that we clearly articulate our motions. And I certainly hope Ms. Williams didn't think tonight that I was picking on her, but actually she did a very eloquent job in recovering in that area. Please make sure, I know it makes Ms. Brenda's job a lot easier when we clearly state our motion and what we're motioning for, and being as elaborative as possible in terms of what we're motioning for, so that we can record the person making the motion, the actual motion, and then the second, so that we can clean that process up a little bit and make it a little easier as we all go forward. Mr. Peden?
I guess school's getting ready to start, and I guess I hope everybody's ready for open house and all that, and I just look forward to it. Thank you.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes. I also like to say congratulations to Mr. Jenkins on his award tonight. I would also like to thank Cheryl Umstead and Delilah for the work that they've been doing towards researching and getting as much information for us about and doing a good job of explaining what's going on and how our educators are feeling at this point. I think Delilah did a very good job. I'm sure she's received, and like us, received the calls and concerns about the master's program. I would personally like to thank Cheryl for delving into the STEM issue. That's been a big push for us, and hopefully we can get that expanded to other schools, not just boot camp focused, but maybe we can get, our students more engaged, especially our girls, into science, technology, and engineering, in our county. I would also like to thank our students this year. We've had more students that have graduated out of our system that have either chosen our four-year schools, but have chosen our Pitt Community College system, and not just as a stepping stone, but as a clear path of focusing on what they are wanting to do with their lives. And I think we are doing a better job at asking them what they want to be and seeing if we can't try to help them to get there. I'm very, very thankful for our liaison for the county commissioners, Dr. Johnson, who listens to us and gives our concerns through the county commissioners and let them know that we do work together. Our relationships have been more cohesive over the past 2 years than they ever have since I've been on the board, and I'd like to thank Dr. Johnson for that. But most of all, I would like to thank our parents. Our parents are struggling. Our community is struggling. With the state budget, lots of cuts. We've seen everything from our school to unemployment to you name it, has affected our students. And we want to make sure the parents know that we are here. We don't mind the calls. And if anything that we can do to help, I'd like for you to know that we're still here and that we are looking forward to this year under new administrations, under, a new vision, same vision, constant vision, but under new leadership, and I look forward to that.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Kamnitz?
I have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
Yes.
Ms. Little?
Nothing.
Ms. Waters?
I'd like to thank Karen Quick for bringing the young ladies here to speak to us tonight, and I wish they hadn't left. Not only do they seem to be well-versed in science, but they were very articulate and very
That's right.
poised, and that makes me very proud. One of the issues that came out of Michael's committee earlier this year was the inconsistencies in fundraising. And if it's possible, Sean and I have talked about this at length, and we need to revisit the fundraising in the schools urgently. I find myself through a friend buying school supplies this year, and I realize that when the teachers are asking you to bring 2 to 4 reams of copy paper and tissues and Clorox wipes and disinfectant wipes and the like, that they obviously are struggling to make their classrooms the very best that they can. But we need to push to get the $10 fee waived. If you remember the statistics that came out in that report, rarely did any school have more than 55% of the people paying that. If we're going to fundraise, charity begins at home. Let's get some of those fees paid to help our teachers. And I'd like to see that a priority, and I'd like to see that built into the fundraising. So we are not at all immune to the cutbacks, and I understand the parents are hurting, but if you just send your kid with paper and pencil and a notebook, even if you can't afford the extras, pay the $10, and that will help. Thank you.
I'd like to say congratulations to Burt Jenkins and his award. That was very distinguished. And I'd also say regarding our exceptional children, with that program, Cheryl, whatever can be done under state and federal guidelines. I know a lot of what dictates what we have to do and with our exceptional children, because we want the best education for the exceptional children as well as regular ed kids. But I know that the federal and state guidelines really dictate a lot of what we have to do. But still look at that again. Camp Focus, I've always been a fan of that with Karen Quick. She does an outstanding job, and I'm glad that it's come down that they are working with the science engineering aspect, because you know that with the United States graduates the least number of engineers in the world.
We graduate more, but we have fewer Americans.
But I mean, they're just, I didn't want to say that, but when you look at who we graduate, it's just not good, and I'm glad that they are working towards that. And it's also, Camp Focus is a good thing for us to use as a community, is working with Pitt County Schools also. The budget, I was very disappointed in the budget. Hopefully, some eyes will be open shortly, especially when election time comes around again, because we need to make sure that our children are our top focus, and children in North Carolina right now are not being looked at as a top focus. They are not. And we've got to get back to that, because if we want to be a successful state, we have to make sure that our children get the best education. I also think that North Carolina is last in the nation in teacher pay. We are last. So people really need to look at that. And when we talk about teacher morale, and we've talked about teacher morale in the past, we really, as leaders and as a board and senior staff, we're going to need to do all we can to help raise the teacher morale. And if there's any little thing that we can do or give them to help them in any way, I think we need to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Ms. Owens?
And then one of the ways that we can do that is if we, the 12 of us, show that we are together and that we support and that we are willing to try to do that. I'd like to thank you and your staff and the senior staff, because you come in so positive and it spreads around like wonderful, wonderful glue that holds us together. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. Mr. Forrest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to congratulate Burt Jenkins and everything that he has done and all of his awards and hard work that he has produced. Also, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for those, how well you articulated tonight exactly where we are in education and the direction that some would like to see us go, but the direction that we all must go if we are to continue to be and strive to be a leader in education in this state. That obviously we're heading in the wrong direction, and we've got to be able to turn that around and go in a positive direction. And hopefully the people will speak and help make that happen. Also, I'd like to say what a good job too, Barbara. You indicated and sort of said this, but Michael Cowan, you've done a tremendous job in your leadership role over the last few weeks, and it has been very well noted and well received, and I appreciate what you've done and this entire staff to continue to move us forward. And
What was on your note?
Well, I just want to say that. And having said that, Michael, one thing I'd like for you to do is, Ms. Francisco was asking for more resources and information on that special needs children. If you could make sure that she receives some of that, I would really appreciate that tonight. And that's about it, except for one thing. This past week, Mr. Chair, you asked me to chair an EPS committee. And in that EPS committee, one of the things that really caught my attention was some of our schools, one in particular, but several of our schools that have so many first-year teachers or teacher turnover. If the General Assembly keeps doing to them what they did to them this year, we're going to have more than that.
That's right.
And that should be, that is not only a concern, but that should be an alarm to the people in our county that this has got to change. And thanks again to the county commissioners for helping prop us up during this time. But, Mr. Johnson, it's not right for y'all to have to fill in the vacuum of all the money that they're taking away from education. So you're right, we have to work together to make sure that they understand that. I'm sorry, but I'm just upset.
A lot of upsetness here with this group tonight.
We're together in our upset.
That's right.
If that is a word. Mrs.
We'll make
Council.
it one. Put it in policy.
I'd like to ditto all the things that's been said tonight, especially with the congrats to everyone, and also with the outcome of the most 7 disastrous months that I've ever lived under from our state legislature. And so I think it's a hard-learned lessons for many of us, and so you know what we have to do. You got to get out and vote and change things. That's the way you change it. And the next time around, that's the bottom line. And so now I think a lot of people didn't think it would affect them, but now they see. So we got to deal with it until we can change it. And I have been working hard doing my little part of lobbying and trying to educate, and going to continue to do that because so much has happened. The best of us can barely keep up with all the devastation. It's like this last 7 months has been like a terrible tornado. It's touched down on North Carolina, and it is so embarrassing, you all. I have networks all over this country, and I've been getting calls, what is wrong with your state? Have you all lost it? It's just embarrassing. So I think what you said, Mark, and all the others have said tonight, it's a hard lesson that we have learned together. So it's up to us, all of us, to do something about it. If we are really sincere, we're going to have to make some changes. We can do that. It takes numbers to do that. And even though they changed the whole voting process, but we have to learn it all over again, you know. I was good at that, but I'm gonna have to have a lesson in learning the new process, but I can do that. So all of us are gonna have to work because now it's hitting home, it's hitting the poor people's pocket already hitting them and the rich folk, and all kinds of folks are being hurt. So together, we can come out of this because it's nonsense. And like I said, when Brian Brown came here with downsizing the school board thing, I told you all that it was not his agenda. It was the Chamber of Commerce, the Koch brothers, and all these other crazy people that is trying to take us back to before the 1600s. This is what is happening, and it's dismantling right before our eyes. And matter of fact, as Reverend Barber said, that's the president of the state NAACP, we are in a reconstruction that's going on right before our eyes. So you all need to pay close attention because you haven't seen nothing yet. Just keep listening, and when it start hitting your budget, your grandmothers and your cousins that maybe not as affluent as you are, I'm talking to the public now, you're going to really feel it, and we already feel it with prepared people, our educators that have worked their behinds off, getting degrees, getting their masters, and now can't even use it. It makes no sense. So I'm stopping on that part of that. Now I'd just like to congratulate the Epps alumni again. On July the 4th weekend, they awarded 1,000
6 $1,000 scholarships to students in our 6 high schools, and we'd like to congratulate them, and they did some other smaller scholarships as well. Also, on August the 31st, the Bethel Union will have their 100th anniversary. That's one of the old black high schools that closed. Last class was in 1970, and we are celebrating its 100th anniversary on August 31st. It's a one-day event. It's going to be held in the town of Bethel, and we will be celebrating the success, the progress that those students made, and I was one of them in 1967. It was hard back then, so I know, having struggled on those farms, and a lot of us worked sharecropping and all of that, so we have been through Jim Crow and all this other thing, and right now we're going through it again, but it's named something, it's the modern day slavery, I call it. So we have been through that, so we understand it, but we will be celebrating in the town of Bethel. Bethel will host us, and the town of Bethel, all its officials and different alumni, everybody will be coming back to celebrate that with a parade at 10 a.m. It's a Saturday, August 31st. Then after that, we'll be having a gospel fest, thanking the good Lord for getting us to this point, even though we're still struggling. Yesterday, the HBCU, Historic Black College, and the university alumni had their annual Back to College cookout at the CM Epps Park, and that was to encourage our students because we told them it's going to be a different year than what you've ever experienced before, but you can do it. We encourage them that you can graduate no matter what goes on, you can still get through college. So we encouraged them on yesterday, and we had the alumni there and students returning back to the HBCU schools in our state, and there are 11 HBCUs in North Carolina, and also other schools to the state came out, as well as the alumni. And on Saturday, November the 16th, we will be having our college recruitment day at Cornerstone, and whereby we will be having the college recruiters to let the students know they can still go to college, so we have to continue that. So again, thank you all, and we got to work hard. We're going to have to pray and work, and we're going to have to vote too, you all, to change some of this foolishness that has happened to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Forbes.
I move that we go into closed session to prevent the disclosure of student information that is confidential under 20 U.S.C. 1232G and GS 115C 402. Consult with our attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege on matters including Rhonda Everett, the juvenile female, 1, B, the Pitt County Board of Education, and Cynthia Purvis, B, the Pitt County Board of Education, NCGS 143-318.11A. Establish or instruct the staff or agent concerning the negotiation of the amount of compensation or other terms of employment contract. Consider the qualifications, competence, performance, condition of appointment of a public officer or employee. To consider personnel information made confidential by GS 115C 319, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against a public officer or employee. Approve of closed session minutes from June 28, 2013, and closed session minutes July 15, 2013.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Forbes. It's been seconded by Mrs. Chemnitz. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.